A huge murder trial. It's keeping South Africans glued to their screens, of course, but let's not forget this is all about justice in the end. It's the trial of 5 men accused of killing former Bafana Bafana captain Senzo Meyiwa. Advocate Zandile Mshololo continues to grill forensics officer Thabo Mosia in the High Court in Pretoria this morning. Let's go live to Slindelo Masikane covering that story for us. We'll look ahead to what to expect today, Slee, but as we always do, proceedings cut short yesterday. If I have my facts correct, what happened?
We just had some technical difficulties, Gareth, in terms of the recording machine that tapes the proceedings, and so we could not continue because then there would not be a proper record essentially in terms of those proceedings that resumed after lunch. So council took a decision to just adjourn about 30 minutes early, and that is where, of course, before then rather, we had advocate Zandile Mshololo, who was still busy with cross-examination. She's now scrutinizing the qualifications around Sergeant Mosia and whether he actually had the necessary experience to be the one to attend to that particular crime scene. We found out yesterday that in fact the qualification in terms of his BTech degree, he actually obtained that in 2019, and so that's a couple of years after in fact the murder took place. But he told the court that he had been operational in terms of attending to crime scenes since around 2008 and had obtained a number of courses within the SAPS as well. But what also was quite interesting was a U-turn from Sergeant Mosia around him being a forensic expert, instead saying that he's been misintroduced to the court and that in fact he's a criminalist expert. This of course was then questioned by the defense, saying this was not your evidence in chief, and now you're making an about turn in terms of the experience that you have and that you've said to the court that you do have. But also what was quite interesting as well was the fact that the defense is now putting it to Mosia that he may have had a part in the contamination, or should I say the planting of evidence at the crime scene. They are raising a discrepancy around the fact that when Senzo Meyiwa was shot, it was the 26th of October at 8 p.m. at night. Sergeant Mosia, on his initial visit to the crime scene to collect evidence, it was just after midnight on the 27th of October. He then returned later that day to continue collecting evidence with the task team, and at that point he says that he never went straight to go book the evidence in Springs where it's supposed to be kept. He instead took it to his office, into a safe, because he says he was exhausted, and instead actually booked in that evidence on the 28th, which would have been a Tuesday. So the defense is saying there's something wrong there in terms of the manner in which the evidence was not only collected, but the manner in which it was kept. Let's take a listen.
I'm failing to understand why you were to keep the exhibits with you on the 27th, the whole day up until you register them on the 28th of October. What were you doing with these exhibits? Where?
How do we see hobaneng o ile wa tshwara bopaki bona ho wena ho tloha ka di 27 tsa October ebe o lo bo register ka di 28 tsa October? O no etsang ka bona nako ena kaofela?
Ska ha se ke hlaloseditse bopaki bo ne bo le ka hare ho safe ya ka, empa ka tlasa mabaka a itseng ha ke ka kgona ho phumella ho di buka ka lona letsatsi leo le nako e ke bileng le yona crime scene ile yang nthefula le mkhathalano le mongata. Ke fihlile ka di beya fela ka safe ya ka, and then ka tla di buka tsatsi le latelang morena.
As I've already testified that it took a long time at the crime scene and I was exhausted. Hence, I put the evidence in my safe only to book it or register it the following day.
Kwasithatha isikhathi eside-ke kwindawo yesehlakalo, yilokho okwabangela ukuthi uma sengifika-ke emsebenzini ubufakazi ngibhuke kwi-safe yami ngibukhiphe ngelanga elilandelayo.
You were not exhausted, Mr. Mosia. You were not tired. You were still tampering with these exhibits. That is why you delayed in entering them in the exhibit register. That is why you delayed in putting the exhibits into the lockup safe immediately after they had been recovered from the crime scene.
Are wa o jwetsa he hore ha se taba ya hobane o na le mokgathala o saka wa bukang di-exhibit tseo e ne le taba ya hore ho no hona le ho itseng ho ntse o etsa ho sitisa bopaki bona pele o ka lo buka mo bo tlamehang bo bukwe teng.
Tjhe, ha ke dumellana le seo, ke sa utlwisise hore nka sitisa bopaki hodima mosebetsi o ke nang le boikarabelo ho ona, ska ha ke le moo ka hara lekgotla le ke araba dipotso tse ka teng.
I do not agree with you on that point because I cannot tamper with the evidence on which I am accountable for, the same evidence on which I have to answer to today.
We'll go back again to Slindelo Masikane as that court case continues again later this morning.